We are back, and we are talking about how hospice and Right at Home, some of the things you do, kind of interact together and collaborate.
Well, I have a great story, and it'll be it'll be good for you to hear too, because it happened yesterday, and we actually have a hospice of the Lowcountry client right now. And the family, we were all sitting together. I was there with the daughter and the wonderful hospice nurse, and we were all talking about end of life and what we had to do. And then the hospice nurse had to leave, and after we had talked with everybody, and I stayed with the daughter and for a couple of hours, and we just all held hands, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful moment. And it was all sort of started by your wonderful hospice nurse.
Well, thank you.
And it was just a great teamwork, and so that whole working together, it takes all of us to,
Well, and that kind of brings up a point for all of you all. Talk to me more about the teamwork. I mean, do you find that you do a lot of calling in and kind of supporting each other? What does that look like?
Well, it is all about a team, and that's what hospice is, and we call in Right at Home to help us out on occasion. It's not just a physician overseeing the case. It's usually that nurse who becomes the case manager.
Okay.
She determines how often she goes into the home.
Okay.
She brings the social worker in. We're looking at legal, maybe some financial aspects of what's going on. Bring in a nurse's aide to help with personal care. Bring in the chaplain. Bring in therapists if they may need some physical therapy, speech therapy. Bereavement, sometimes for family, if a family has little children. Not all our patients are elderly. Some are young, some are young.
Right.
Disease has no age limit,
No, it doesn't.
so we're dealing with. And sometimes those caregivers are overwhelmed, which is when we need someone like Right at Home to come
I
in.
see.
To be there maybe from that 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift, so that caregiver can get some rest. So we're caring for that caregiver
Right.
as well as the patient.
Well, I think that's what's really been the most interesting thing for me as we're sitting here talking. Yes, there's an emphasis on the quality of care for the patient, but I'm hearing as much that you're here for the caregivers.
Absolutely.
And I don't.
Yeah, she just talked about the daughter. It's a lot of that.
Because it's someone at end of life, but it affects that whole family. Because more often than not, that patient's okay.
Right.
They get
They're
it.
managed.
They're okay. But the family is faced with, I'm losing my husband, I'm losing my mother, my sister, my father, and how are they going to go on? How are they, their loss? We're looking at their anticipated loss and their grief, and how can we help them go through this process?
How do we get to Right at Home and at Hospice Care of the Lowcountry? Does a physician refer usually? Is it education, like shows like this, which kind of make us more aware? Because I think it's an intimidating world if you don't know. All at once, someone gets sick, you just don't anticipate it.
And it's a phone call. Anyone can make a phone call to me, and we can figure it out. Maybe it's not time for hospice. Maybe it's palliative care. Maybe they just need a caregiver in. So we can kind of do an examination of what's going on and where do they need to go. What's the future looking like at this point, and direct them. They may not need our service right now, but at some time maybe, but do they just need a caregiver for a couple hours, or a sitter, or a ride to the doctor?
Exactly. Well, that's what you were saying. You sort of are multifaceted in your job.
Yes, yes.
She is, and Jenny, we won't have to go into a lot of detail, but you brought up palliative care, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what that means.
Palliative care is when someone has serious illness. They're very symptomatic. They've got pain issues, shortness of breath, anxiety issues, things that they need some oversight with. That's that patient that may be ending up in the emergency room on Friday night because they can't get a hold of their doctor.
Right.
Our palliative care program can kind of oversee and kind of keep them out of the emergency room, kind of keep them out of those weekend hospitalizations. And if they have a nurse and a physician that they can call, can we oversee that? Can we make sure everything's in the home that they need to take care of those issues?
So that's what you would provide, kind of the nurse and the physician that they would be 24/7 on call with.
Absolutely. Right.
And is that something you two would work together too? Is it at Right at Home? Would part of your job, if you will?
Yeah,
Would
we
you-
have positions, just like Jenny with their organization has positions, and they work together, be it a care manager, whatever you want to call the title, and they're the ones
Okay,
that they
right.
coordinate everything that Heather's going out and or the caregivers are going out. All that's coordinated by people in an office.
So one of the things and one of the advantages of having a right at home is that the patient just has to be the patient. The caretaker just has to be the caretaker. We would have you, Heather, or you, Jen, to do all of the logistical work that's so time encompassing, and if you don't know, you don't know.
And we're sometimes that life preserver, because when you're dealing with
good word, Katrina.
That is a
a
good
sick relative, or you're just trying to maintain and make sure they're comfortable.
Right.
And all the other things of life are still happening. So if we can anticipate that and help with maybe some of those financial things and get those things coordinated and taken care of, and those end of life documents and those kinds of things, we can all work together on those.
Very good point. I know we're out of time.
Oh, I
again.
hate that. It's like, just when we
Always
start
goes
getting
so fast.
revved up, right? We get our questions in
I
line.
know. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're
Thank
welcome.
so
Thank
much
you for
joining
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here on the Senior Network. We'll see you the next time.